I was stuck.
We're up. Welcome to the November 2nd, 2017 business meeting. And first up is roll call.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Mr. Stephen Madcore here representing County Council for you. And as always, Mary Rathke, your clerk to the board. I'll start with the roll. Commissioner Humberston?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Savis?
Here.
Chair Bernard?
Here. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance.
Turn that off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we have a pretty short agenda today, and we don't have any cards, so we're moving on to the consent agenda.
Okay.
I know.
Oh, Les is here.
No blue card.
I was in an executive session.
Yeah, sure. So, Les, you want to go ahead and go up, because I would imagine you're going to do that. And this is extra credit here.
Yeah. You know, I haven't been here in 3 weeks to harass you, so I've had 3 weeks to get ready. And I've done nothing. So you're safe today. Spent some time in Bend
Thank you very much for your
recently.
comments today.
Spent some time in Bend, and they've got a lot of the same problems we have here. You've got the big city in the middle of Bend. You've got that mix of urban and rural uses. And as Portland in our area is growing, of course, so is Bend, one of the fastest growing regions in the country. And interestingly, I look at Clackamas County, I look at Portland, I look at Bend and other places, and what I see is a need, I'll call it a need, to be more geographically specific in our planning and our transportation and the things that government is doing. What that means is, when we talk about geography, we're talking about the lay of the land, the amount of water. You know, I'm being real simple here, but we're looking at an idea for planning oftentimes that is, it seems to be from looking down at a map. If I look down at an aerial view, I really can't tell the terrain. So there's places where we've got issues with density being imposed in areas where it shouldn't. In Gladstone, where I live, and in other places, we're running out of land, so it's putting a lot of pressure to develop around wetlands, or we're getting right up close to areas that generally we would like to see preserved. So when we move forward, my commitment is to be a voice of the local citizens to the county, a voice to the region, that simply says, fix our roads. We are in a situation where jobs are critical. If we can't create more industrial land and jobs that are going to keep people here, we're going to keep commuting, we're going to keep overloading those roads. And when we do that, we end up back where we were 5 years ago. And that is, well, we need to do something, but we're not sure what. And it's too late for that. I noticed that we just received the new county newsletter. Got a little hashtag on it. That was a good idea. And in the newsletter, I noticed Commissioner Savis commented about the need for jobs. And if we don't have the transportation and the available land, and I mean land that's ready, not land that's zoned for industry, but ready, it's only going to get worse. And so my message today is a bit of a hodgepodge, but it's really the same message I've presented here on so many different occasions. The growth is creating issues that we are just banging up against. And the county didn't create the growth. Some of this growth is coming from people fleeing Portland. This is a wonderful place. It's easier to get around here. It's still legal to have a backyard in Clackamas County from what I've seen. And I just want to emphasize that without the right transportation and without the right amount of jobs and land that can be developed to create jobs, we really have a recipe for trouble. And I'm going to present a simple question and I'll be done. And that is, as soon as possible, it would be nice to see where we are with the gas tax money that will be coming in from the state gas tax that was approved. We got, this winter's probably going to finish off some of our roads, and I know you folks are getting a lot of input on that. So where we go with the gas tax money and how it's going to be used is real important. I'm over my time. I appreciate your letting me talk this long. Thank you.
Actually, I want to make a couple comments. One thing is we have a great opportunity in Damascus, already in the UGB. We need the sunrise. That's always been our priority. 205 is really important, but it's a regional and state and frankly federal priority. But the sunrise would open up a lot of people, like Paul has mentioned many times. He's been talking to people who are ready to do something should that road ever be built. An interesting thing about the gas tax and stuff, because we're talking about that, everyone's going to be getting gas tax money, and the problem is, where are we going to hire those people to do the work? That's probably, we've been discussing that a little bit too. As you know, we have 17 million we're short. That's will help, but still, how are we going to get the staff, equipment, or contract to get that work done? That's going to be the biggest challenge I think we're going to face over the next few years. But at least we got something coming. We're still going to talk about the VRF, but we're going to be, and if when we do that, what it is and where that money's going to be spent. But the biggest issue right now is where are we going to get the people to do the work and the equipment, so, and the blacktop, because if everyone's got all this money to do all this work, it's going to be a tough challenge ahead. So we've been starting to talk about that. Appreciate you coming in.
Well, I would just real quickly add that we're with all the commuting, you're hearing about the accidents on 212, and especially on each side of Damascus, and there's a divider line and there's a ditch, and it's just a recipe for trouble, and there's no turn lane. I don't need to belabor it any further, but if we can do something to get that next phase out of the sunrise out to 172nd, we'll all be heroes. Terry Emmer will even love it. Thank you.
Great. Brainerd Bauer.
Best line today.
Oops. Just in the nick of time.
Yeah, my apologies. I was trying to get that printed and I had some challenges. I really, I'm kind of running out of things to say on this topic. What I handed out was a bullet point. I'm trying to help the dialogue along in that here's a list of the businesses, the intersections, the school, just kind of the list, the rundown. So that at least there's some kind of summary, at least a start at a summary of, there's quite a bit in this third mile, quarter mile area. I mean, a lot more than's normal for rural. And it's going to continue to grow. So emphasizing that this 35-mile-an-hour concept that the state can do legally. I've been very clear in my research that the state can do this if they're willing to. They have to kind of stretch to the outer boundaries of what they can do, but they can do it. And if they don't, we do have the ability to go in front of the State Traffic Safety Board. But I'm just trying to help the education. Commissioner Humbertson did talk to the sheriff. Kelly called me, and I did hear back from someone.
Good.
We chatted about it. We probably will chat some more. But he emphasized, we can't give tickets over, we can't give tickets over for 5 miles over, let alone really 10 miles over. So it really allows for 55 miles an hour before somebody can be ticketed for speed in that, And if you spend any time there, you'll see it. It's a community, it's a local, anybody local. I mean, I had somebody, just as a final thing, doing service on the propane tank, you know, so he's not out there all the time, but he's sitting there working on it, you know, and while he's there, a fully loaded logging truck comes by because they don't want to slow down for the hills, so they're 50 miles an hour or whatever, you know. But even without that, he's going, oh, this is a drag strip out here. He was just floored by it. He was just like, I can't believe it. You know, what's this going on here? Now, it does vary by day. Some days, I don't know what it is. People are just in a different state of mind. And,
Yeah, and as you mentioned, ODOT is looking at this right now. We've requested so as soon as we hear something.
Yeah, appreciate
let you
that.
know.
So really providing this list was just so you have a summary for you.
Okay,
So,
great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
If you do have another chat with the sheriff's department, even if they just put a cruiser there to sit there and that doesn't write tickets, but at least flies the flag, that should help somewhat on slowing things down.
yeah,
You know, I realize that they have their policies that they follow as far as writing tickets are concerned, but flying the flag also helps, and they, you know, it's part of what they're paid for. So
I can give them a place to park one, you know, it's for storage. I won't charge for it, so if they don't want to. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks. Well, we're to the consent agenda.
Okay, today's consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of a service agreement with Walgreens partnering with Clackamas County Health Centers Division in participation with the 340B Pharmacy Services Agreement. Approval of an agency service contract with ColumbiaCare Services for supported employment services. And approval of an agency service contract with ColumbiaCare Services for supported housing services. Also, approval of an agency service contract with Lifeworks Northwest for supported employment services for Medicaid Clackamas County residents. Approval of an intergovernmental revenue agreement with Oregon Department of Education Early Learning Division for kindergarten partnership and innovation. Approval of Amendment Number 4 to the Intergovernmental Agreement with Oregon Department of Education Early Learning Division for Early Learning Hub. Under the Department of Transportation and Development, approval of an addendum to the Intergovernmental Agreement between Clackamas County Building Codes Division and the City of Sandy. Approval of Amendment Number 2 to the Intergovernmental Agreement Number 30447 with Oregon Department of Transportation for the OR 213 at Union Mills Road project. Under Elected Officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes and approval of the fiscal year 2017-2018 local subrecipient grant agreement between the District Attorney's Office and the Children's Center of Clackamas County. That concludes today's consent agenda.
Do any commissioners wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. County Administrator updates.
Well, since we've got the time this morning, I thought I'd read a few chapters from War and Peace. Is that okay? I do have a couple of items to share with you, though. From our Water Environment Services Department, we were recently featured in the scientific journal known as Restoration Ecology, which is really the journal of the Society for Ecological Restoration. And this was an article that was written by Gail Shellum from our policy section of our Water Environment Services Department. Her article highlights studies that were conducted over a 7-year period of time with more than 2,300 students, or as we refer to them as citizen scientists, who did a kind of a before and after look at a WES restoration project near the confluence of Rock Creek and the Clackamas River. And the article described how the WES restoration project and its programs are a model for others. I just wanted to share that with you and can give a congratulations to Gail for a great job in putting the article together and sharing that and getting it published. The other thing I wanted to share with you is really great news involving our Clackamas Broadband Express, or otherwise known as CBX, our high-speed fiber broadband service. As you know, last year, we had contracted with the Lake Oswego School District to provide high-speed internet connectivity to the entire district. The contract was for $1.5 million, which they actually provided up front to the county. And so I'm happy to report to you that the county has finished the project on time and under budget, and it resulted in a refund back to the school district of about $140,000. And in addition to that, the contract will save the district more than $25,000 a year when compared to what it was originally paying for internet connection service the prior fiscal year. So wanted to share that with you and express my appreciation for the great job our staff and technology services are doing. So that's all I have for you today.
Great. Commissioner Fisher.
So we're on to commissioner updates, it seems. So we've been talking about our concerns about housing this winter shelter for folks, transitional shelter. We had our policy session. Since then, I've been engaged in some conversations with many different people, given the concern that our transitional village for veterans is somewhat delayed, and just exploring the possibility of starting the project up here where the pods are, seeing if that's possible, and we're going to be discussing that on Tuesday's policy session. And I just wanted to let folks know that I know there's a lot of commitment in looking at what are we going to do this winter when it gets cold, how are we going to address the need with Multnomah County not being able to continue housing our families in Multnomah County. They're preserving their shelter for Multnomah County. We have a lot on our plate in dealing with emergency housing issues across the board, but wanting us to continue the conversation and just letting folks know that we will be discussing that again on Tuesday at Issues.
Great. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep it short because I know we have an event coming up shortly. I was able to do the site visits of the 3 schools that are being considered as part of our deal with the school district and Hoodland Park. I have some thoughts on how we might actually get all 3 sites. I think that ought to be considered. One of them, I know we currently rent from the school district, and I really do hate to pay rent if we can own something, so I'd like us to take a look at that. Did go out and meet with Jackie Gross at the ranger station in Estacada regarding CLT, and they will be meeting with a couple of their principals, and then within hopefully the month we'll be meeting with Jackie and the principals to move our project forward. And on a good note, another one of the environmental community groups has agreed to come on board and support, qualified support again, us moving forward on CLT. It's the group known as BARC. So it's nice to know that we now have 5 different environmental groups that are at least giving us qualified support as we move forward. And
Their barks.
BARC is,
Their bite.
you know, their bite can be worse than their bark. So it's good to have them on board, at least willing to participate.
And it follows, you're going to talk about a dog.
And we're going to talk about a dog. So this is Truffle. He is a sweet as pie hound dog. Truffle is surprisingly less vocal than other happy hounds who continually sing the song of their ancestors. He's an older gentleman at 8 years old, so he would appreciate the warmth of an indoor setting and the comfort of a soft bed. He needs a home with children over the age of 13. A daily stroll to sniff out the neighborhood would be nice, also the gentle attention of a loving owner. You know that the love of a good friend fills your life with joy. Let Truffle be that friend. For more information about Truffle and other adoptable dogs, please contact Clackamas County Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or www.clackamas.us/dogs. Thank you.
I wonder if he hunts for truffles.
Who knows?
I don't think I will not build on that. How's that? Really quickly, I know we are rushed for time here this morning, but I do want to say that it is, we've had a heck of a week talking about housing and transportation, especially housing. Tomorrow, a number of us will be at a forum on housing at, I think it's PSU, I think. Yeah. And big, heavy topic. And to the point earlier about jobs and our communities doing or thinking that, you know, we ought to be putting a lot of energy towards housing. What came really clear to a number of us this week, and even discussions last night that I had, is that, you know, the city's responsibility is for housing, and under Goal 10, they should be doing that, and we ought to be taking our energies on the job side, because that's why a lot of people are falling into homelessness. Or just our population is growing faster than we are growing the jobs, and if we keep on at that rate, it's just a recipe for more people on the street. Because people move in here, they compete for the housing market, and someone loses, and that person, if they don't have a job or not a well-paying job, they are on the street. That is the key thing. I've got an opinion piece that got printed today in Pamplin Media, really talking about as we grow, how do we grow? Do we grow more metropolitan-like, and if so, is that going to be should that be in cities, or should that be in counties? Should we be a suburban county? What is the future of Clackamas County, knowing that we have all these growth impacts? So it's more of a dialogue starter, but I think people live in this area, especially Clackamas County, for the beautiful county that it is, and the beautiful state that it is, frankly. But we've got to figure out what we want to preserve and where we want to put things that, with its density, where that takes place, and what we want to preserve. And so we have a lot of dialogue to engage in the months to come. So I'll be asking for people's input on that, and feel free to reach out to me, those that are watching, because I really do want to hear if you think that we ought to, or where you live ought to be more densified, or metropolitan, or suburban, or do you want to protect your neighborhoods? Those are really the key questions that surround that, and we need to look at the Sunrise Corridor for those jobs and also opportunity for housing. So I'll stop there. Okay. I see my colleague's got a question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Sure.
I just wanted to share something with Paul, given his comments today, and for the audience. You know, we have talked about how corporations have been buying up apartment houses and raising rents and that sort of thing, and we've talked about how Airbnbs have impacted it. I got a statistic the other day that I was not aware of until yesterday, and so that everybody understands what that impact is. There are 1,200 Airbnbs in Clackamas County alone. That's a big chunk of where our rental housing is going. Keep that number in mind, 1,200 Airbnbs. And at the moment, it's been difficult to even get them to pay the taxes that they should be paying, because they are competing with motels and hotels and that sort of thing. So 1,200, keep that number in mind. Thank you.
It'd be interesting to know where they are, because we do have a tourist area that could have a lot of those. But we know of a few in neighborhoods in Stafford that are having a huge impact, mostly on allowing too many people to live there. And that's something, I guess, we're looking at, some code enforcement issues. But we had our third roundtable. I think that's been very valuable. We're going to have a few more, and we may need a few more after that. But we were told, in case people didn't know, that Multnomah County won't be housing our 50 families that have been staying in housing in Portland. They're going to do what Portland needs to do and take care of their own people. Actually, it's Multnomah County, not Portland. Also, we did receive some grants from Metro, Park Avenue Plan, and that's great. And with that, we're done. So I'll adjourn. Thank you.